Hey, welcome to Mando and Friends, presented by Verizon. My name is Mando Fresko, and today I am joined by one of our new friends. We're gonna make you our BFF.
Yes.
You brought us some
Food.
potato balls and some guava pastries. Right. We have the owner, one of the owners of the very famous, worldly renowned bakery, Porto's Betty Porto. How are you?
I'm good. Relaxing.
I love it.
Instead of working.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for
We're really
inviting
excited.
me.
We're big fans of what you and your family do. It's a family-owned bakery,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, on the show, we talk about the journey.
Yes.
Right? Because it's what inspires our listeners, our viewers. So I want to hear how Portos got started. If you remember that first spark in your family that started the business.
Well, you know, it's obviously a family business, but it was my mother's passion, dream.
Yeah.
Her business knowledge and all that really got the bakery started. We came from Cuba in 1971 as immigrants. And she started this business back in Cuba, where it was illegal to have a private business. But because we were leaving the country, she was fired from her job. My dad was taken to a labor camp. He had no choice. You had to go there.
Yeah.
And he went from making $180 to $8. And my mother working in a farm. My mother went from maybe 280 because she ran an office. There was 12 guys. It was a cigar company. And she did everything, inventory, vacations, as a one-woman show. My mom had the privilege of getting an education. Mm-hmm. She had a bachelor back in the days. It was to teach, but she never taught. So at 25, she comes back from Havana to her town, and she gets offered this opportunity to run this company. So 25 years old, you're doing vacations, payroll, you're doing all this. So that's a lot for her, you know, for her learning curve, right?
Yeah.
Starts there. Then Castro comes to power. The company closes down. They just closed it. They closed all the businesses. Everybody had to go home. And she started at home because the government didn't care whether we survived or not. And my mom and dad had 3 kids. So she starts making cakes for friends and family at home. Now, it wasn't easy. Number one, it was illegal. She would have gotten caught 25 years in jail for doing private business. She had to buy the stuff in the black market, which was dangerous too. You get caught, you go to jail. And a lot of times you would commission a cake and your family would get together all their rations because everything was rationed by the book, even to this day.
Wow.
And so she would say, I need 2,000 eggs. And then it was a family affair, getting the eggs, getting the sugar, getting the flour. You couldn't go to a market and buy them because everything was rationed. Wow. So those harsh times, but she flourished in this environment, you know. People got to know this lady, that not only was she a great cake maker, but she was honest. So other people that were doing it were asking you for 3,000 eggs. She'd only ask you for what she needed. And she would say, if I make three cakes and I have 2 eggs left from each cake, that's 6 eggs. That's all we need.
Yeah.
We don't need to be hoarding eggs. But so people understood that. So she kept flourishing and flourishing. She was making money and sending it to the United States, which was illegal. But the way they did it was, if your mother was living in Cuba and my grandmother was here in the United States, you would call my mom and say, can you give some money to my mom? And you would put the money in her bank account. So she smuggled money. There was no way of doing legally. But then she came with a head. She was a businesswoman. She's very smart. More history. She comes from a family of businesswomen. So her mother had a Spaniard. In the 1940s, her mother had a store. Like small little shop selling pieces of material. So then my mother is raised by her sister, but she grows in an environment with her mother and her aunts all had little stores, but they had stores. So, you know, people say, oh my God, who was a mentor? Well, she had a whole gang of women that were her mentors, her mother, her aunts.
Yeah.
If they did it back in Cuba in the 40s, why can't I do it when I get to the United States? So it took us 8 years to get out. So when we arrived here, my dad would say, you know, you have to get a job, you need insurance, you need to, you know, and she's, again, later on, she told me, because in those days I was too little, she told me that every time she went to an interview and my dad was working at bandit camps, she on purpose failed. Everything that she had to do, she did it without telling my dad.
Yeah.
Because in her head, in her mind, she was going to still be an entrepreneur. She had that bug that she already done it in Cuba under the worst times. So how could she not do it here?
Right.
And when she could go to Smart and Final and get all her ingredients, this was like Disneyland for a cake maker.
Yeah.
Everything that she ever wanted to was at your hand, fingertips, yeah? So she just stuck to her guns and she just, made at one point, she had so much work at home, making cakes, quinceañera wedding cakes, that we had to fix our garage. And then my dad got involved and we were making the meat pies and the potato balls. Now, we were living in Sunset and Silver Lake. It was predominant Mexican area, and there were a lot of Cubans and Coronado, that area at the time. So that was our customers. But people were coming to her house that worked in Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
So they have Filipino friends, they had Chinese friends. So pretty soon, she's getting not only Latinos, but people from other countries that are coming to her home. And then it comes to a point where there's no more space. So we'd come home from watching a movie and we couldn't go to bed because she had put sheets on our beds and she was flipping and cooling cakes because she had one mixer and one oven. So she understood, and then we opened the garage and my dad was making with us, helping her make these little pies and stuff. She came to realize that she needed to get a bigger place.
Wow.
And they went about the business of securing a loan. It was $5,000. But we're talking about 1975, 1976. You needed collateral. You needed something. Nobody would give her a loan. But then, again, immigrants, they help each other, right?
Yeah.
Especially back in those days. So there was a Cuban guy that was a loan officer. And we are from the same town. So he knew of her work. We made cakes for him in the past. So he believed in her. And he was the one that gave us the loan.
Wow.
And so the rest is history. $5,000. We started in Sunset and Silver Lake, 300 square feet. She made quinceañera cakes, specialty cakes. My dad worked at bandit camps, came in at 1 a.m. to help us. We were in high schools. And that, especially on the weekends, we would help. It was a family affair. Even my grandmother was involved. Every day we pitched in and, again, we were kids, right?
Yeah.
So my mother would go away after we come from high school. We go there. She would go away to go to a market because she would cook at the bakery. When we left the bakery, we already had dinner. Our life was there. She would leave, and then our friends would come over. And we burn stuff and throw it in the trash and give them free food. My mom never knew. Yeah. We had egg fights, flour fights. By the time she came back, everything was spotless. So the responsibility was not ours. Yeah. We were kids. And they were very typical immigrants in the sense that she would say, we're doing this for you guys to get an education. So I was going to be a lawyer. We were going to be doctors, lawyers, whatever it is. Every immigrant parent wants their kids not to work hard, not to do hard labor, because that's what they're doing. Yeah. They want you to have a better life. So it was never about us doing this. It was just a mom and pop that they kept working at it and more people would come. We were in a, like I said, predominant Mexican area. And at some point we got a bakery. I never forget his name. His name was Margarito. Which is not a very... Yeah. So he taught my brother and we were making conchas, cubiletes, banderillas, the bread with the butter. Yep. We made Mexican stuff and he made stuff better than I ever tried anywhere else. Wow. Because we were using good ingredients, butter. We were not making a cheap concha. We were making... And so once in a while he gets this idea we're so busy, I can make some incredible conchas and nobody's going to be able to stay away from them here because he loves baking and stuff like that and bread. But we were making Mexican stuff. Wow. And we were doing really well. Besides the potato balls and the guavas and that stuff, the chicken empanadas, we did catering. So my mom not only made a wedding cake, but we did catering too. And again, we ran out of space. The area, see the things how neighborhoods change. The area wasn't doing very well. There was a lot of clubs and Sunset and Silver Lake at night. People would come out drunks, and so my parents were scared for our safety. Yeah, it wasn't a good area at that time, and so they found some place in Glendale, which is a very white area, but it's very safe. There were a lot of Cubans living there. So we went to Glendale following our customers. Brand Boulevard was broken up in 1980, 82. But we didn't, so the guy that sold the bakery to us went out of business because the brand was broken up. But we didn't need that because what? We had built a clientele, right? 5 years at home, then, 4 years in this bakery. So people came for us. We didn't need foot traffic. So people would come through the back of the bakery, enter. While we were working, they would walk through oil and grease and flour.
Yeah.
And we survived that and we flourished when everybody was going out of business and everybody was closing down. So we had a deal. I think it was like 3,000 square feet. We got it for like $30,000, fully equipped. Imagine going from 300 square feet to all this stuff. So we are flourishing now in Glendale because our clientele is loyal to us.
Yeah.
And bringing more and more people, right? And all of a sudden, Glendale the city decides to kick in redevelopment. So we're on 315 Brand, and they want to take down that whole block.
Wow.
And they want to build a 8-story building or 10. We're still standing now, 350 North Brand. That's the first thing that comes to Glendale. Glendale was like Montrose and Honolulu, moms and pops, right? So yeah, the Galleria comes, right? In the 80s. So all the mom and pops are going out of business.
Wow.
Because the Galleria has shoe stores, they have everything. So they destroy that little area, right? But we, on the other hand, are making a product and doing something else that nobody can copy, and the Galleria doesn't have a bakery. They don't have what we have.
Right.
We're unique, we're different. And so we stay in business, and because we're standing in that block,
Yeah.
they have to buy us out. We had a lease left. So we go from a $30,000 bakery, across the streets, they built us a new bakery. The guy who owned the block, he spent like $100,000. So now we have a brand new bakery, $100,000. So that means more equipment, and we're across. We keep growing, but then that building is done, and all of a sudden you have Security Pacific Bank, you have the IRS, you have 7,000 people living across from us.
Yeah.
So what they call supply and demand.
Right.
So we're there, and then they want, they start asking for, how can we have lunch? We're just a bakery, right? So they start asking, what about sandwich? So we start making a few sandwiches. What about coffee? Drip coffee. So they're asking, and we're fulfilling this.
Right.
But as we grow, then we realize that the coffee is very profitable. So then we start making espressos, and we get a machine, and then we start coming out with more sandwiches. The Cuban sandwich, of course, was the first one, still the number one seller. But we start adding more stuff because there's more and more people. So some people went out of business. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
A lot of people went out of business because the Galleria came. A lot of mom and pops went. But we were at the right time.
In the right place.
And all of a sudden, not only do we have people coming on the weekends that are regular customers, but we have all these people that are hungry and they want to be fed. It's a funny story. The earthquake in Northeast took place.
Yeah.
Our employees were running out the door. And my sister, my brother, and I, my mom, were all there. All of a sudden, all the people from the building start coming in to the bakery because they want to be at the bakeries. They feel safe there. So we're like struggling to now, with no employees, and all these people, instead of going home, are coming to us. And we're like, oh my God, how are we going to do all this? But we did it that day. It was crazy because for some reason they felt safe at the bakery, but not on the 9-stories building.
Right,
whatever.
right, in the high rise.
So,
right.
We're in Glendale. It's a long story, so I don't know if you want me to ask.
Yeah, no. So what do you remember about those moments, like for yourself?
Yeah, I remember.
Like you personally.
At the first store, a little mom. At the house, it was coming home with all the cakes and all that stuff. And my brother fell asleep every night listening to the mixer. Because the kitchen was here and his sofa bed was here.
Wow.
The girls had the room. So he fell asleep every night listening to that. I remember my bed being covered for stuff. I remember my friends wanting to come because there was always leftover bowls with the icing or whatever and sticking the spoons. In Cuba, I remember one time my mother, she was so sick and tired, was sticking the finger on the meringue that she made a bowl of meringue.
Yeah.
And she sat us around it. And my sister and brother had to finish that bowl of meringue. And then she was real scared because my brother started peeing some green color. She said, oh my God. but it was a paint that you had put in the meringue.
Yeah.
So I remember all those stories, but that was at home and stuff. In the first store in Sunset and Silver Lake, it was a fun having a place, our friends coming in, taking pictures. We were like movie stars and just being with the friends and having a great time. The other stores, Glendale, and I remember just working hard because I'm getting older. So now it's not about fun and games anymore. Now is I'm working, 12, 15 hours.
Yeah.
And when I have an exam, I don't come to work because I was a priority. But the other time I'm working long hours, I'm working hard hours. We're getting older and we want to have fun too, right?
Right.
So I used to I was in the disco era. I used to go to Circus. That was the best discotheque in LA. I used to go there, right? We were there until 3 or 4 in the morning, whatever. I would come home, change, and go to work. And I did this Friday and Saturday.
Wow.
So if I didn't have that energy, I would have never had a youth. I would have never gone anywhere. I remember my brother and me driving because all our friends went to Lake Havasu in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
We finished work Saturday. Imagine that. We drove all night long. Wow. And I was like falling asleep. And all of a sudden I look at him. He's asleep.
Oh my gosh.
And the car is going like this, but there was no traffic back in those days, right? We're talking about the 80s. We drove to Havasu just to be with our friends for a Sunday.
Wow.
And then we drove back. So we had fun. My parents made it possible for us to have a youth, but it was hard work. It wasn't any more fun and games, right? And we were getting our bachelors. And so I think the big change for us was when we got our degrees. I got a bachelor from Cal State LA in political science. I want to go to law school. My brother's an economic business major. My sister's an accounting major. And then we started looking for jobs. And we're looking at this place. We're now across the street. And this place is growing. And without realizing it, because you got to keep in mind, we were working all this time. From 1976. Now I graduated 82. We're like, okay, we're going to look for jobs. They tell me there's no lawyers. Yeah. There's no job for lawyers in 1980. There was no lawsuits. None of that existed.
Wow.
So there's no job for lawyers. So I go back to UCLA, 2 more years. I get a master's. And then I graduate again in 1982 with a master's. There's no jobs. Again, all those personal injuries that did not exist.
Wow.
You didn't see a commercial about a law offering his services. So I say, what am I doing? What I do is I want to talk. I want to be in front of an audience.
Right.
Well, there's a bakery there and I have an audience all to myself. So I start, my brother stays. He stays in the back of the house. My sister decorates cakes with my mom. I used to be a wedding cake decorator. She stays down there. And I get sent to the front because my dad speaks English, very little of it. We're immigrants. And my brother realizes that we need somebody that can be in the front and talk to customers. And they picked the right person because, we somehow found our niche, but it was very natural. It wasn't forced upon us. I was thrown to the front. How was I going to know that was my passion? People. That was my passion, talking to people. My brother's a business major. That's what he studied. And that's what he does. That's his passion. My sister is good with numbers, but she was very talented like my mom.
Right.
So we naturally found our passion within the bakery. So then we didn't go get a job. We stayed behind. And that's when the actual growth begins. And that's where we go from a mom and pop in Glendale. We start coming with ideas. My parents, for the first time in their life, go on vacation.
Wow.
So they came when they were 38. They take their first vacation when they're 67.
Wow.
And we were like, okay, go. And they come back and the baker's standing, right? We prove to them.
Yeah.
So
were they hesitant to
well,
leave?
at the beginning, yes. I mean, it's very hard for an owner to delegate.
For sure.
So they came back, the baker was standing, and from that moment on, every year, they took a vacation, which was like glad because, they never had a life. They go from Cuba being middle class, having a cushy life, to coming here as an immigrant with zero and working harder than they have overworked. So, we were happy that we were able to afford them that time that they needed to go to see countries all over the world and learn stuff. So we stay behind, and again, that's when the growth begins. And
for someone that I know it was a different time then, right? But for someone that wants to become an entrepreneur,
It's a lot harder now.
What would you say is the if there's a secret,
Yeah.
or if there's any tip that you would
Yeah, I
give?
mean, there's a lot of stuff. When we started, it was a lot easier. Number one, my mother knew what she was doing. She knew what she was doing, and she got better as time went on. We started with no employees. It was my mom, my grandmother, my dad would come after work. So no salaries. My brother and sister and I were free labor. We didn't get paid at the beginning at all. So there you got a lot of kids there. So number one, she was able to pay the rent. Day one. Why? Because she had built a clientele at home.
Mm-hmm.
The number one reason 90% of restaurants go out of business. The number one reason is they can't afford to pay the rent. Number one reason, they can't pay the rent. She was able to pay the rent from day one. It was $300, $289. She paid it because she built a clientele, right? But then you have people that want to open a business, pay $5,000 rent and sell cupcakes. How you gonna make money selling cupcakes to pay that kind of rent? So
Yeah.
I always tell people, and I talk to a lot of schools and a lot of people that are in the food business, and I always tell them, like my brothers always said, let somebody else teach you. Don't pay for your education. Go let somebody else teach you. So if you want to become a baker and you want to become an owner, go work for a bakery. Start doing dishes. Work yourself up. Learn every department, a bakery department. Learn how to schedule people, how to do a shift, how to do your sales, how to do your hours. You let somebody else. We're paying to educate you.
Right.
When an employee comes in, it costs us money to educate you. Do that. Know what you're doing. So many people open restaurants that they just investors. Like they have the money to do it. Like, Bestia as an example, they have an incredible guy there, but they have investors. They invest the money, but he knows what he's doing. The investors don't know what they're doing. He knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
They were smart enough to figure out this guy is a gold mine, right? But most people, they want to open a mom and pop. They don't know how to pay their rent. They don't know how to do numbers. Go to school. To me, that's not something that you can put off. Take business courses, get an education while you're working, because I'm a firm believer that you should work at all times. This thing about not working and just going to school, the people that don't work, graduate, they don't know what to do. They have no idea.
Yeah.
They don't know what work ethics is. They know nothing. So get a job, because when you graduate, if you worked, you'll get a job right away. The ones that don't get jobs are the ones that all they did was go to parties and they never had a job. So get a job in something that you have a passion for. There's all kinds of, you don't need to spend the big bucks. You can go to college. All college have culinary programs.
Yep.
And then from there, you can go to Pomona. Cal State Pomona has a whole hospitality program. And you can go into photography, food photography, or you can become a manager. I even have teachers that have become managers. You can be a manager of a bakery. You don't have to know how to make a cake. We'll teach you every department. We have a whole training program. But those kids that want to start, don't just get money and throw it down the trash.
Right.
Work for somebody else. Learn the ropes. Learn everything from scheduling to every. You have to know what the employees are doing for you, how long it takes, what's the labor that it requires. We knew all that because we had the longest internship in the world. We started at 16, and we don't take off on our own until we're in our 20s, 23, 24. So that's the key. Learn. Don't throw money away. And when I do a lot of lecturing at USC as a business class, and then most of these kids are coming from foreign countries, from India, from China. The parents have businesses. And their number one question is, how do we get our parents to trust us? They're sending us to school, but they don't want to trust us with anything.
For sure.
In India,
I feel like
in China, right?
Yeah.
And I said, you got to prove it. You got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
You got to be the first one in the door, the last one to leave.
Yeah.
Work ethics, number one. You got to prove yourself. And then show them, ask them for a small project, deliver. Hey, I finished this little project. Can I get a bigger one? So you got to prove yourself, just like you do at work.
Right.
Your parents can just give you this business and for you to throw it down the trash. So that's their biggest question, because imagine you coming from China or India, they don't fool around, and they want those kids to be, so they're going to USC getting an education. And at some point I told them something will click and you'll understand what this is all about. But this has been a long journey, but it's been a very fun journey because we have a passion for what we do.
Right.
And that was installed in us by our parents. You know, the work ethics, they taught us work ethics. And the passion for baking and all that, that was my mother.
Do you feel like work ethic is something that can be taught?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. But it's not something that tell you, it's not being taught right now. You have kids that come in from high school and they don't show up the next day that they're hired. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to be calling to excuse myself, even though there's a whole process of training.
Right.
There's a whole training, you know, which is virtual, through books, doing tests. We have a whole program to do that. That didn't come overnight. We didn't have that in place in Glendale. These are things that you learn because when you have a business, you will never stop learning how to do things in a better way. But work ethics is a huge issue now because these kids are not working because their parents, oh, don't work. You know, I want you to concentrate in school, and they're doing them a disservice. They don't know work ethics. They think it's okay to start working a week and miss a week later.
Right.
Who would have done that? So
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with my older employees, the ones that are married, they have children, because they're working to keep their family alive. But work ethics is something that you have to teach at home. And I have a feeling a lot of it is not being done. You teach it at home, and you learn it in school by coming in time, by turning in your homework. That's something that we need to work on. And, you know, we work on that. And so we're lucky that a lot of these kids that come in, a lot of them are good kids, but we have to teach them that it's not okay to miss. So we are in charge of teaching something that in the old days was taught at home.
Right.
You know, your mom and your dad back in the days when they were working, they were not told that they had to show up. They knew that.
They had to. There was no
now
option.
you have to teach it. So we have a whole program for that. And so we do that every day. So every day that you're in business, you learn. You know, for example, we knew the retention of employment is key, right? Because that, in the old days, if you had turnover like McDonald's, that's their model. Turnover was welcome. That's how they do it. 50% turnover. That's how they can offer those meals for 90 cents, right? Because you get new people at minimum and you turn them over.
Yeah.
We are not that kind of business. We rely on knowledge that's accumulated through time. So turnover for us is deadly. And now, since COVID, we haven't been able to keep it down. And anybody that's in the food business understands this because they're all anybody that's self-employed and has a business is suffering through after COVID. But this is something that, again, you went back to your question, you teach at home.
Yeah.
And it's not being taught. So we have to engage these kids and we do things to retain them in a different way. Before, employees in the old days, all they wanted was to work. The way you keep them engaged was to give them overtime. 20 hours overtime was the norm.
Yeah.
Now, those employees that started with us as immigrants, I'm happy to report, they're all homeowners.
Yeah.
All my old timers. They retired, they bought homes. Why? Because overtime was 20, 30 hours.
Yeah.
And they was pay us overtime. So they welcome the overtime. Now, overtime is not something that the new generation likes. So we have to kind of adapt to that.
Yeah.
So do a lot of things where they're involved, where it's safety. If they keep the numbers and there's no accidents, then we give them a party. We raffle televisions, iPads. So we have all kinds of parties to get them engaged.
Wow. So you've adjusted that in the business
They were
side.
the sports things when there's football, Dodgers, whatever. We let them do that. For Christmas, Thanksgiving, we let them wear hats. For El Dia de los Muertos, they do makeup, paint, because those are the things that they're interested in.
Yeah.
So we have adjusted and we have learned the ways of retaining employees. One of the things that my brother came up with, and he, brilliant, before Obama made it mandatory for people to have medical insurance, we did it. We wanted to do it when we had their older employees, but they didn't want to budge because they didn't want to put money into the system. Because the old people, their mentality is, save money, or I'm not going to pay insurance.
Right.
I don't need it. I can go to TJ, whatever, and get my medical done. So it didn't fly with them when we tried it. So then we tried it again 2 years before Obama. And then we have people buying in. And so now every employee that works full-time has insurance. We also have, by them joining the insurance, we offer them a free when somebody passes away. It was a big issue. The families didn't have the money. This was before the Go funds and all that. So when an employee passes away, automatically at this free, he doesn't pay for this. At the beginning, it was like $25,000 that they get. The family gets. I don't know if it's a little bit more now, but that's a way for them to have money to pay for the funeral. And it has happened.
Yeah.
So that's a plus. They get that automatically, and they don't pay that. We also have a 401k plan, and that's a big struggle with the youngs. They say, I know if I had $20, I'm gonna spend it buying beer, but it's a good thing to have for the older people.
Yeah.
So now we feel good that when they retire, there's something in there for them, in place for them. So, we're always trying to be ahead of the game, to retain employees, to get them engaged, so they feel the same passion. That we have a passion for what we do.
Right.
I have a passion for my customers. How do I make those employees have the same passion? Whenever we have a group of 10 people being hired, I make it a point of talking to them.
Yeah.
I just talk to them. I say, you know what? This is not about me. You don't even have to smile at me, but you got to smile at the customers. I bring it to them, to their level. I make it real. I say, these people have been coming 45 minutes away. They'll be standing in line for 35 minutes.
Right.
They're going inside for 35 minutes. Do you think they deserve at least a smile to make them feel welcome? Do they deserve your attention and for you to be polite? Yes, they do. So I tell them, I'm not the one paying your salary.
Yeah.
It's them.
How do you build that culture of customer service?
Yeah, we work on it every day. There's a whole program. The kitchen is different than front of the house. The biggest apartment is front of the house.
Yeah.
Right? I have 300 employees at the bakery. Most of them work in the front of the house, and they're the younger ones. More knowledge in the back of the house. We don't have that turnover there. The turnover is always with the younger people. But, if somebody comes that is going to college and stays 2 years, that's great.
Yeah.
2 years, sometimes we retain them. The head of our HR department started working because her mom told me, give her a job in high school. And not just the head of the HR. That's beautiful because she knows the culture of the family and the culture of the business. So we try to do that. We try to retain. We try to bring up, we have people that you can tell they're going to be go-getters.
Yeah.
If you have an employee that's always asking you, well, I want to do that next. I'm already done with this. What can I learn next? Because you have to sell yourself, right?
Right.
Either they're like that, they're unstoppable. And so we promote it, even if we don't think they're going to stay and they're going to go to do something else, we still promote them. Because we'll have good years, 2 years. And at some point, maybe, like I tell them when I go to culinary school, it's not just about baking and making cakes. We need people in HR. We need accountants. We need all that.
Right.
Managers who have never baked go through a program to learn every step of the area. But you don't really have to know how to make a cake to be a manager, right? So we get managers that come from Cheesecake Factory, whatever. They don't know how to bake,
Right.
but they know about labor, they know about numbers. And so we have a whole program for them too that takes them through all the areas in the bakery because we feel for a manager to respect an employee, he needs to know the work that goes into that job.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You go, Jesus Christ, that's hard. You got to respect those people. And so a manager so we train the managers. So we train at every level. When you come in, we train to make you go up, to keep promoting people. And we train people that come from the outside so they know the culture. Our culture is not the same culture as other places.
Right. Which
Our
is
culture
important.
is the customer is number one, and the customer is the one that has to be happy, not you as an owner, that customer. So that's when I come in. That's when what do I do on an everyday basis? I take pictures with people. I sit on their tables and I talk to the people about their grandchildren and their journey and how many cakes we have made for them. So we have like a bond, like a history.
Right.
And that goes a long ways.
It feels like you're walking into
they feel like they own the place. They feel like they own the place.
Yeah.
It's their place. And they have an opinion about whatever. And we listen to them.
Yeah.
Because they have the right to. I always make fun. I have this Filipino couple that goes to Glendale every day. They retire. They go daily. And I said, did you realize that tile on the floor, you pay for that tile. That's your tile. That's why you sit in the same table. So, we have that kind of a business where we have a lot of love and a lot of, I call it instant gratification.
Yeah.
We get a lot of positive feedback. We don't have to wait for it. It's right there in your face. Man, you made the best cake for my daughter, and I never forget that. So we get a lot of, who doesn't want to work in a business like that?
Yeah.
Where people are telling you, we love you, we love you, we love you. We love you what you do now. The work ethics has to be there. We work very hard. Sometimes they put things in, and sometimes they go into Yelp. We have a really good rating in Yelp. We won 1 year for number one. We have like a 4.70 something, 4.80. But the things that hurt is when somebody says, the owners are up there, living like rich people and they never spend a day at this bakery.
Right.
They don't know that hurts because it's not true.
Right.
So you try to read it and don't let it get to you. But it hurts when it's your own business and your sweat and blood and tears are there, and that some people think that we're on a pedestal. We're at the stores every day.
That's
I'm there every
passion.
day.
That's passion.
You have my cell number. Everybody calls me. It's not a private line. I don't have two phones. I have one phone. I can only deal with one. And people call me at 9 o'clock at night, and they call me at 7 in the morning at 6:30, and I answer the phone. That's my job.
Yeah. So you would say when your family comes to the States,
yes,
and opens that first bakery,
yes.
What year is that? Like
1976.
76.
So we came in 1971.
So in 76, it's open. At what year or what time?
Glendale is 80.
Glendale's
1980.
And what Porto's is now modern Porto's, right?
Yeah.
When did that happen, you think?
Again, when we graduated, the moment we come on board. So I finished in 1982 because I was going a master, but my brother's getting a bachelor, so he's coming there, and my sister, and that's when the growth begins. That's when we start taking other classes in management and business, and that's when we are starting to, coffee, for example. We work with Gavillas, a Cuban coffee. They sell them in Don Francisco, Don Jose. We go to them and we say we want to start doing this, and those companies will come and help you set up all your equipment. They teach you. They teach you how to be barista. So the companies that sell you flour, they sell you all that. At the beginning, there's a lot of teaching that comes from them because they want you to use their product. So they want to teach you how to use it and to prove to you that their product could be the best product.
Right.
So a lot of these people are coming on board. They're telling us what to do. We start meeting people in the food business, organizations. We start going to Chicago, to Las Vegas. And at the learning period, my brother goes to France. He goes to Germany. As a baker grows, he goes all over the world to look at machines and how, those bakers that he builds, he went all over the world to build them.
Wow.
He goes to Germany, to Holland to see what they're doing because bakeries over there is a growing business where here is not, So you never stop learning, but you gotta keep going. So we went through a big learning curve, and the biggest challenge for us at the time was opening another store. So
like a second store.
2005, we opened Burbank. That was like a baby step, right? I told you, delegating is very hard for an owner because you think as an owner, this is your baby and nobody can do it like you can.
Right.
Okay, that mentality, we had to change it, right? Because now we're going to Burbank, but what do? You take a little baby step because we were getting complaints in Glendale about the waits and the lines and the parking. So that's why we make a baby step. But now we're learning. We taking classes. We learn. We have people that would come that had open restaurants and tell us what to do. And so what we did was, it's called divide to conquer. It's such an old idea, but you divide to conquer. So now the bakery as it stands is divided. We used to all work together before.
Yeah.
Now it's divided. It's very specific. So you have the people that make the bread, the bakers, the ovens. That's one area. You have the people that make the mousses and the fancy cakes, the pastry chefs. That's another area. Then you have the people that do the packing for the orders. That's another department. Then you have the kitchen. That's another department. Okay? Now, the front of the house, you have the bakery, the cafe, and then you have the people that turn in the orders.
Mm-hmm.
Now, every one of those departments was divided, and we were putting leads in each department that would answer to a supervisor, then answer to a back of the house manager.
Wow.
Front of the house has more leads, more managers, 3 managers per store. The They have supervisors on them because they got the biggest amount of people, right?
Yeah.
But so you divide to conquer. So we did it in Burbank. It worked out. And that's what we do now. That's what Downey is. That's what West Covina is. That's where Northers is. We repeat the same model. So that was the hard part, the first one, and learning how to do it. Now it's a lot easier. We duplicate. What is it that we do every time differently? We learn something every time we build a bakery about the setup at the back of the house, what's faster, what works better. So every new bakery will have a feature that's an improvement on the last bakery.
What's
which
the
is
biggest?
Cool. We learn.
What's the biggest lesson that you learned from opening Burbank, which was your second store?
That we could do it. That we could do it, and how it became an instant success. That we opened the doors, there were lines of people. So we thought, oh, we're gonna take it. No, the first day the lines were out the door, and it remained very, very, very. I mean, it was a total overnight success, and we've been lucky that the other ones have been the same. We open them, and the people will come, and we don't know why. I mean, we kind of know why they come, but it doesn't cease to amaze you or to surprise you. You don't take it for granted. So every day that we open a bakery, and some of them at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, you have people lining up. Well,
Wow.
when we opened Northridge, it's windy. And it was like 30 degrees, windy, and we're like, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock, nobody's here, what's going on? And then when the wind died, like around 5:30, they showed up in masses. But we were used to the other ones.
Yeah.
So we're like, you never take it for granted
Wow.
that they're going to show up. And so it's a blessing to be able to count that those people have, that they feel so strongly about us, and that they love that we're their bakery, and that no matter what we open them, that they come. I think they understand that, we never disappoint them, in the sense that if you talk about the secret of our success, it's number one, the ingredients that we use. So we source ingredients from all over the world. So if you go to a high-end restaurant in Beverly Hills and they make you a chocolate cake, well, that's the same chocolate. That's the same Belgian chocolate that you're getting at Porto's. So we never compromise on the butter, on the cream cheese, because the bakery business is all about the ingredients. That's the key to it. It doesn't matter if you make it by hand or if you have a machine. It has nothing to do with the quality. It's all about the ingredients, sourcing the best thing in the world. And we do that. Now, the problem comes in is how do we source the best from the world and give it to the customer at a reasonable price?
Right.
And it's becoming harder and harder, but you still can get a sandwich at the bakery for $6 something,
Yeah.
or $7. Nobody can do that. When you have a fresh croissant, we make the croissant 4 times a day. When you go somewhere else, the croissant might have been frozen and they bought it for somewhere else. Our bread is baked fresh daily, 4 times a day. When you have a Cuban sandwich, people don't realize how important the bread is to a sandwich. It's the number one. You got to start with a good bread, and we do. So ingredients is the key to everything that we do, and we never compromise. We go crazy trying to get the pricing, trying to buy bulk, trying to establish relationships, buying strawberries at one price when they're high and they're low, paying the price, doing a contract. Sourcing now, we're sourcing a lot of local ingredients. Like that tart that's being made right now, they're sourcing it's from a farm here in California, close by. So we're doing a lot of contracts with families that can provide us local stuff that we have fast access to it, and that they care, right? Because it's another family growing strawberries for us. So again, back to the ingredient, trying to see what we can do, where we can get the best ingredients, where we can get the best prices, so that product gets to you as its best.
Right.
Meat is going up. There's no turning back on that. So we survived COVID by not changing ingredients, never compromising, again, quality, but taking things out of the menu that we couldn't afford. Like we couldn't buy the meat. So we had to we couldn't get the meat. We couldn't get a company to source it to us every day. It was hit and miss. So you can't have a product that's hit and miss. And now we're working back to bring in all the stuff that we took away.
Wow.
Because we couldn't produce them. The ingredients were not there. The employees were not there. People were getting sick day in and day out.
Were
So,
there
you know,
times when you guys closed for
we
a while,
closed.
right?
It took us 2 days to turn the bakery, which is an amazing thing to do from dining to takeout. And we became very, very successful at it. But again, during all that time, we cut products that we couldn't get the ingredients because we didn't feel like we could give you something that was less than perfection. So number one is ingredients. And I would say now number two is customer service.
Right.
We were talking about keeping all these kids engaged and doing things that are fun for them so they want to stay with us. That's very important.
Yeah, like you hear about the culture behind some restaurants, like
Yes, very important.
the in and outs of the
Right,
world, right?
right,
Like how
yeah.
people just love Fred or DP. He's from Texas. He loves his Whataburger,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
And
God, I tried that.
and what'd you think?
There
it is.
They have it in Florida too. It doesn't compare to In and Out or no.
Look at him and tell him that, please.
No, it doesn't. He just grew up eating it, so sometimes people get used to something
Right.
because it brings back memories, which is a lot.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. But if you become a foodie and you taste things,
If you know, you know.
no, you don't know. You learn to know by trying. He needs to keep trying different burgers. If that's his passion.
All across the country.
Oh my God, Warner.
Overseas. And overseas.
This is the
Yeah.
the argument we have
Yeah,
all the
they
time.
have it in
with Fred.
Florida too. No, you know that, right?
Yeah, that's South.
East Coast.
Oh yeah, East Coast and all the South.
Yeah, they don't have.
The furthest out here is
Yeah.
Mexico is the last thing.
Again, maybe it was the one that I tried. Because these are individually owned,
True.
which is the problem with when you have a company that is not controlled by a family. When you have like all the McDonald's, there
Right.
are McDonald's that are cleaner than others. There are McDonald's that it shouldn't taste different, but who knows?
No, that's true.
If they're not cooked it properly or the meat doesn't get temped the right way, who knows? When I had it,
Right. No, so
it was in Florida.
The reason why I was talking about those restaurants is just like the culture behind that, like
But
the
they're
loyalty.
They're only family owned. The ones that are family owned are the ones that are like In and Out. It's a family. It's one person.
And then you think about like customer service. The first company that comes to mind, like fast food wise, is like a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Right, where people are always like,
Well,
"Oh my
they're
God, the
brand
customer
new.
service."
They're brand new, and so they did the research. There's a lot of thought behind those restaurants. I think some restaurants now have better customer service than food, and people will go back to them
Right.
because they're treated
Right.
so well that they just go back to them because of that. It won't be me, but that's a big thing now.
And I feel like you guys have combined both.
We try very hard. We train every day. We spend tons of money training people. But it's you train people. Sometimes you get incredible employees. Sometimes you get somebody that went through the cracks and you don't know how he got there. But once he starts working, doesn't smile, and you're like, God, did I know that I met that employee before? So the other thing you have to really be careful about is hiring for the position, right? Where before we used to hire people, we fell in love with you because you're a good worker and we wanted to promote you to the front of the house. Biggest mistake, because we couldn't get a smile out of you, right? So you got to hire for the job. Back of the house, they got to get along, but a smile is not necessary to do your work. But in the front of the house, without a smile and from ear to ear, your eyes that are singing and dancing, without that, you don't accomplish anything. So hire for the position. When you're starting a company, hire for the position. People will tell you. You just have to ask the right questions, right?
Right.
So it's huge now, customer service.
A boss of mine many years ago told me that people don't get fired, they fire themselves.
It's true.
Do you believe in that?
Oh yes. Yeah. And and the worst part are the ones that make everybody's life miserable. Like, you're young, you have a future ahead of you. If you don't like what you're doing, don't waste time making everybody miserable. Move on,
Yeah.
The people that are successful stay in a company until they're no longer happy. And they move on. They don't make the company miserable. They move on because they know that it's time to move on. And whatever you learn, you're going to bring it with you.
Right.
And they turn around and say, thank you for all the knowledge that you gave me. I'm ready now to go on my own. And we're very happy to see that because that tells us we're doing something well. We love it when somebody leaves a bakery and goes and becomes an entrepreneur, because we did it right. You know, we taught them the right way, and we have a few of those that have gone into other things and restaurants and things like that. So there's nothing wrong with that. You have to train not to keep up, but you got to train for the heck of making the best employee. Never thinking he might leave tomorrow. Why am I spending all this money in the training? Doesn't matter. You have to train everybody, whether you think they're going to stay or not. You know.
Right.
So
that's key.
Yep.
You know, you have 6 bakeries now, Betty?
Six bakeries, but we have something else that became key to our survival during COVID. 2 years before COVID came around, my brother wanted to, because people can say, why don't you sell things at Costco? Why don't you put them at the supermarkets? And he said, I want to be able to do that, but I want to control the quality. I want us to be the ones sending and shipping or whatever. So we started something called Bake at Home. And so, you know, we were Bake at Home. We have videos, we have instructions. The product tastes the same as when you buy at the bakery. I say better because you can eat it hot out of the ovens. When in the bakery, we have to cool them off before we package them, or they get soggy otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the best Bake at Home. So COVID comes, right? And we go from doing 280 orders a day to 2,800, close to 3,000 overnight. So we had to shift people from this area to the other to be able to handle this huge demand, not coming only from the United States, but from California itself. People that are older, and they're still now ordering through Bake at Home because they don't want to come and line up.
Yeah.
And movie stars that will come and order stuff so they can bake stuff at home, so they can pretend that like their house smells like they baked their chocolate. So people do all kinds of stuff with Bake at Home, but we have now delivered to every state in the United States except Canada. No, except Alaska and Hawaii. It's too expensive. But see, we control the quality. That's the beauty of it. And we keep shipping more and more, like we do. The tres leche cake is now being sent, and the chocolate Parisian, which is the most popular ones. And then sometimes we do things only for them, only you can get through Bake at Home, to try to get people. It's a beautiful thing. If less people go to the bakeries.
You're telling me I can do a Bake at Home with the
You
tres
can
leches
get the
cake?
potato, yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And the chocolate Parisian. We figured out a way. And the potato balls will be baked already for you. All you have to do is heat them up. And then the cheese rolls, the guava cheese, the dulce leche kisses, all that you bake yourself. But it's dummy proof. It goes from your freezer to the oven.
Yeah.
There's no thawing out. People think things that be taught. No, they go from the freezer. When you put something from the freezer to the oven, it bakes without losing its shape. And all the stuff coming out, right? A lot of stuff, if you make them fresh and you bake them, like they used to make the coconut macaroons freshly made. We ran out of them. You put them in the oven and it squashes and all the honey comes out. So you have to freeze it. You have no choice.
Yeah.
For it to bake in half an hour and keep its shape. So Bake at Home it's a beautiful thing. You're in your home. You don't have to line up. You don't have to stand in line. Some people love to go to the bakery because of the energy. But if one day you don't want to bake, or if you want to, like, you know, my daughter at work, all her people that she works with for Christmas and special birthdays and holidays, they send photos to New York, to Chicago, because they don't have them in there.
Yeah.
So it's a special gift.
For
It's
sure.
not something that you can get anywhere. So that was key for us during COVID. It gave us that opportunity. Also, something that we learned during COVID is we didn't do any of the food services, the deliveries, the Hub. We didn't do any of that because we thought we're so busy, we're not going to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we were forced to do it with COVID, right? And so now we learned that, and now we're doing it. We don't do it all the time. We open and close it depending on the demand and supply
Okay.
at the bakery, but we're working on that. It would be great if we can get just test kitchens that we can just work out of there for Bake at Home, and that's something that would be something that we can do. Not Bake at Home for the deliveries.
For
If we
the
have-
food delivery
instead of,
services.
If we're maxed out of the bakery, can we get us someplace next door that they can, you know, do
Just
all
for that.
Just for that. That would be genius. But we're working on that, and you know, COVID came around, so again, retaining employees, getting employees has become more of a challenge.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing that's holding back a lot of restaurants and a lot of places that are wanting to open that are being held back because of those factors.
The Bake at Home, that's available Obviously, like you said Costco earlier.
No,
right?
no. We didn't want to go.
Oh, you didn't want to.
We wanted to control it.
So it's
See, when you
straight
sell
from.
it's from us to you.
Wow.
We control it. We have the facility. It's all coming from us. We control the labor. If it tastes bad, it's our fault. We're not leaving it there for a few days like they do in the markets and then picking it up.
Right.
No. You control it. It's genius if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's your product, your family name on those boxes, and you control it, you know?
Betty, I'm still trying to figure out, right? Like, there's so many bakeries and restaurants,
Mhm.
but like the fact that Porto's and I remember, so I started in 2005. I started
When we opened.
at Power 106. I was in
Mhm.
Burbank,
Yep.
and I do remember around that time,
You-
just like
You used to get deliveries from us all the time.
we would.
Because Sage, the one that owned Nissan,
Yep.
he used to send you guys food all the time.
Yeah.
He was a freak about the bakery. He loved the bakery.
Yeah.
Because he grew up in Cuba, even though he was a Jewish family from Poland. They escaped Poland, they came to Cuba, and they became very rich. And they had
All those dealerships.
he had the largest dealerships of Nissans in all of the United States.
So that's how the Portos ended up at Power.
Yeah, he used to
At the
send
radio
you guys.
station.
He used to pay for all that. We used to deliver a thermos of cafe con leche, cafe latte, to him. One thermos. He paid more for the delivery than he did for the thermos. Because he just wanted what he wanted.
Yeah.
Really cool guy.
Yeah. No,
But-
so where I was going with that was I'm still trying to understand how, a family business like Porto's became like so popular, and I wouldn't say overnight, but like I feel like
it wasn't overnight.
as soon as that Burbank store opened, it was like
Well, but
things.
but it's taken us 45 years now. See, now new businesses don't have that issue because you have social media, right? You have all these platforms. Our stuff was word of mouth.
Yeah.
You tell 10 people, you went to the bakery, you liked it, 10 people told 10 people. Now we can do a video that,
It goes viral.
That went viral, and we were training #1 on a competition over cakes that these young people brought to us, and we were trending #1 overnight over E13 leches.
Yeah.
We competed with 3 or 4 other bakeries. So now people have that power. We have done it the hard way, word of mouth, getting our stories out there for free. Every time you see an article on Portos from the LA Times or any other article that you see,
Mhm.
or any TV show that you see, or anything like the Cake Boss, any of that, we don't pay for that. It's all free advertisement. We have never spent a penny doing that in the old days, but now we have a whole marketing department where before that didn't exist. So it's
Wow.
taking a long time, but the problem is it's taking a long time, but we done it the right way.
Right.
With consistency, with quality, with service from the heart. People are smart. People are not dumb. People know that they can go to Porto's with $20 and have, 2 people can have a sandwich
Yeah.
and they can have a soda.
Yeah.
People know that, and the quality. And I'm amazed when I go to places so many places that sell food. I don't want to mention names, but
Yeah.
they charge me like $25. You go to the airport, it's $25. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. That makes me angry because I don't want to pay a lot of money. I don't mind paying a lot of money for a good restaurant, but
Yeah.
to have terrible food. So, we're like, oh my God, we could do that for half of that. So I think people understand, #1, that we're immigrants, that we care about them, that we're never going to deviate from giving them the best quality, that we work daily on the service, and we kill ourselves for the pricing.
Wow.
All those things are there. People know that. There was a big thing you remember in the 90s when the economy went down or whatever,
Mhm.
and all these restaurants were closing? We flourished because in those days, a family could come and eat for $20. So they couldn't go to a high-end restaurant, but they could come to Porto's. And our sales went through the roof when everybody else was hurting. So we have never had any issue until COVID came around. And it's the aftermath of COVID
Right.
more than anything else.
Now
The aftermath, sourcing ingredients where you don't get what you ask for. You wanted apples, you get strawberries. You want this fruit and it doesn't come in, then you have to change the whole design of the pastry, of the fruit tarts. So we struggle with that every day now. And I say to people, if you go to a restaurant Give them a break, man. Every
Yeah.
restaurant that you go is slower now. They can't help it. Give them a break.
But
Put
overall,
yourselves
the
in their position.
restaurant business is just
They're all slow to serve
it's challenging.
because they don't have employees. But now more than ever, they're slow because they can. You're gonna see a lot of more high school kids, and you see them in the restaurants
Yeah.
because now we're going back to high school, which is not easy because there's a lot of restrictions. So it's harder for a manager
Yeah.
to manage high school kids, but you see them in restaurants now, and ingredients. The plates don't look the same. Well, they couldn't get that plate anymore, and that's still now. It's maybe another year or two before we can get out of that rut.
Yeah.
It started with all those boats being in Long Beach, not being able to be
To dock. Right.
because they didn't have the trucks that met. They had to be, 2010 and older
Yeah.
and younger, so the old trucks couldn't go in there.
Now, in recent time, you guys made headlines with the Disneyland partnership.
Yeah, they came to ask us.
How did
To
that come
open.
about? Yeah.
They just, they have people all over the world. And like I told you, they're trying to revamp downtown Disney, and they want to bring business with a name, popular in Southern California. We're so proud of that fact that they came looking for us. Do you think we ever thought about going to Disneyland? And we try going. We just work every day. We strive to make everything better, to do better, but we never think that the things that are happening to us are going to happen to us. Every award, every show, it's just things that happen to you and they're nice, but you're not striving for that. You work and you do what you do because you love it and you want to turn in the best product. And I guess the people that work for this, they realize that we're popular in Southern California, that we have a following, that we have a name, and they came to us, and we were not allowed to tell the world that we were going to be there. They did an unveiling in one of those. They have an event once a year where they invite all the crazy Disney people,
Yeah.
and they give them gifts, and they reveal the movies that are coming out, and the actors that the new Batman is coming back, or this guy's coming back.
Right.
Are you familiar with that?
For sure. For sure.
So we did it. They decided that they were going to reveal it there, and they paid us to bring, I don't know, we brought like 20,000 pastries.
Wow.
And so when the people were exiting from the convention, one of the first news that they revealed was that we were coming. And sure enough, we had standing people clapping this whole auditorium.
No, I watched
Yeah.
the footage of
It
that.
was
Yeah.
great. And we're waiting for them outside. So as they're coming out, we're serving bags. We gave them all food. Disney paid for us to do that. But Disney was very happy because here they knew, and this was proof that this is really, it was a good move on their part. So, it's not, I think you make less money, of course. I think you have to make, I don't dwell too much into the business side of it, but you do pay a percentage. So it's not the kind of money that you're making at the other stores, but at the same time, you're going to be exposed to the whole world.
For sure.
The whole world is going to know Portos. As a matter of fact, people travel all over the world. You know how many people are traveling with those bags to Paris and to Spain? Go to Las Vegas on any local flight, and you'll see people carrying our bags. Or go to the Hollywood Bowl or anywhere like that. I'm so proud of that I see my bags everywhere, and my daughters freak out because if I see somebody sitting there in the Hollywood Bowl eating my potatoes, I would go and say, "Thank you so much. I came for Portos." And they're like, "Oh my God." They can't believe it. I think the owners are like this, And I talk to them and say, "Thank you for being a customer." They love that.
Yeah.
And I do it because it comes natural to me.
Yeah.
It's not an effort. It comes from my heart. And then my daughter's like, "Mom, what are you doing?" Whatever. But the people love that.
Right.
That the engagement, you're important to me,
They'll never forget that.
No. So it's good for me because it comes natural. I don't push it. It's just, I see them eating the potato, I go, and I say to them, or if I see somebody carrying my bags in the plane, I say, "Thank you so much. I mean, I know it's a lot of work to be lugging food around for your family, but
Right.
I thank you." And they're like, "Are you the owner?" I go, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh my God, can we take a picture?" That's the first thing that comes out. But I love what I do, and that's what I do. Representing our family and showing people that we're regular people, that we're real. We're not sitting up in a high chair, telling people what to do.
You're
we get
in it.
feedback from our employees. They're allowed to give feedback. Before a product comes out, they get to taste it and they get to give us feedback. And they don't like this, they don't like that. We go back to the drawing board. So that's another way of engaging them, making them feel like, they're part of this whole process. And of course, now they all want to go to Disneyland. Can I go work in Disneyland?
That was my next question. How can I get Disneyland
Oh my God.
passes?
Now everybody wants
Betty.
to go. I know. That's the other thing they're asking. Are we going to get free passes? And I go, no, you're not. Disney's not going to give you anything for free. But they all want to work in Disney
Right.
because
right.
they're crazy about Disney. We want to work with Disney. And I'm like, I don't want to drive there. They want to work. So that's the number one question.
Yeah.
When are you opening and can we go work in Disneyland? They think it's easy. It's going to be hard work.
Can you reveal where the location of?
Yeah, we're taking over the bakery that was there.
Is it La Brea?
La Brea, yeah.
Yeah.
They closed down, and now they have the king of sandwiches, which is temporary until we get all these plans and everything in place.
2020.
So it's a year for the plans and a year to actually build the store. It's a big. It's not so much a big facility, but it's a lot harder to build because there's infrastructure there that's underneath the ground that we didn't have when we were building other bakeries. So we're hiring bigger companies because they need big companies to be able to come up with all the plans, the engineers, architects that we need to be able to build a place in Disney.
When it comes to the actual design of like the architecture and the way the building's gonna look,
I think they like what we have done in the past.
so it's up to you guys for the most part.
We have a lot of freedom when it comes to that. I mean, my brother's not gonna do anything less than we have built, and that's one thing that is big on. Every time we open a new bakery, it's different, but every time we build one, we make it more beautiful. If you haven't been to Northridge, it's all this lattice woodwork on their ceiling that's to die for, and I think that's kind of cool because it teaches all the Latinos and a lot of the minorities that are number one customers, the Filipinos, the Latinos, that we like beautiful places, right? Why should it be small and ugly? And it doesn't have to be that way. So I think they appreciate the fact that we go out of our way to make their places beautiful for their family, for their friends. And at the end, they can be proud to say, hey, this is my bakery, right? It's a win-win for everybody to come out with beautiful designs.
And every time I drive by a Porto's, the lines are always
out the door.
Out the door. Can you imagine how crazy the Disneyland one is going to be?
I know. I have no clue. But you know what? It's going to be a little bit different. I hear my brother talking, and he's saying all kinds of stuff. Like, it might just not be a bakery. We're not going to be able to have all the stuff that we have in all the bakeries because it's not going to be that big. But I think they're talking about a restaurant and a bar. Full bar and a restaurant with Cuban food that he's going to go crazy trying to find a chef that can be, because he wants to do things that are always
next level,
blow people away.
Yeah,
not just regular Cuban food, but modern Cuban food, but with an incredible flavor. We'll see. This is going to be new for us. He's very excited about it.
Yeah,
this is going to be new for us.
When it comes to the menu that you guys are offering and something new is added onto the menu, you guys have chefs on. On board
we have
that,
a
right?
test kitchen, and all they do all day long is play with food. There's a lot of things that go into coming up with a new recipe. If you come out with a new recipe and you have none of the ingredients at the bakery, you're not going to be able to keep it within the price point. So you need to come out with recipes that we have the ingredients. We have the sauces, we have the lettuce, we have the tomatoes. Like right now we came out with the new sandwich with the Spanish ham. We have the arugula, we have the dressings. So that's key to keeping the price of that. So they look into all that, having all the ingredients so that is going to be less expensive for the people, and they taste and they work for months. They look for seasonal things. Like we have seasonal soups right now. Like I told you, strawberries are in season. So we have a tart. Maybe last year we did a peach one. When the peaches came in season, stone fruit, we switch from strawberries. So we're trying to do more seasonal things because the young people like that. And we can engage them and we can source a lot of stuff locally that allows us to do all this seasonal stuff. So that's been a plus. But they're looking for the weather, a colder soup versus a heavier soup. Like I said, potato balls that are made with turkey are only for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and the seafood is only for Easter. Now, the meat and the vegetarian, the cheese and peppers, that's all year round. So you change a lot of stuff around. We try to keep things that are close to our roots. So, like I said, if we came out with something for Altamed to sell to give them money,
Love
we came out
Ultimate.
with a something called a Rose, because my mother's name was Rose, so we call it a Rose, and it's a mousse, the Rose mousse. It's a mousse, but it was made out of guava with a guava center, so that's different. It did so well in the sale that we did for Altamed that now it's on the regular menu.
Wow.
So we tested it. It was a success, and now we're doing it. Why? Because people like those tropical flavors, guava, mango. So again, nothing. A mousse came. And the queens and the kings were inviting people. They would have their head pastry, create profiteroles, or something to blow people away.
Yeah.
Right? You're the king, you're Versailles, you want. And so all that comes from there, but we just tweak it and we give it a great flavor. Like the mango mousse has passion fruit in the middle, or making strudels. We make apple strudels, we make guava cheese, we make a coconut strudel that's to die for. One of my favorite pastries that people don't even know about it's a coconut strudel made with honey and stuff. It's to die for. One of my favorites. It's not an apple, it's a coconut strudel. So, we do the meat pies and the chicken empanadas and the tamales and the things that we know that Latinas love, but we have taught the whole world to eat our food.
Right.
Because, I say it, when you go to the bakeries, the United Nations, there's all kinds of races, there's all kinds of people, there's all kinds of colors. There's no prejudice when it comes to food. People are not prejudiced when it comes to food. You eat Mexican food, you eat Chinese food, right? Who cares?
Yeah.
And as far as our employees, in the old days, only Latinos would come and answer and look for jobs. Now you go upstairs in the lunchroom, it's United Nations. I have people, Muslims that are wrapped. I have African Americans. I have Latinos, Filipinos, Indonesians, the whole world.
Yeah.
Which is a cool thing.
That's beautiful.
That food is bringing all these people together.
Yeah.
For the same goal and the same passion. So
Yeah.
now it's a different bakery. All the languages that you need in Glendale, we have a lot of Armenian people that can speak the language. We even have sign languages because we're lucky enough to have a kid that speaks it.
Wow.
In some of the bakeries. It's cool. We have French people. We have everything, the whole world. Like I said, people don't care about the color of food. They just care about who's serving the food, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, they're not praised about the people that are making or serving your food. It's all tastes good and it just brings people together. So I think food is important when it comes to showing people that we're all the same at the end of the day.
And I think that's so beautiful that you guys are doing that.
We are doing it.
I look at some restaurants and sometimes there's like collaborations and partnerships between a restaurant and, a hot sauce, or a restaurant and you name the ingredient,
Yes.
right? Like, have you guys ever thought about doing something like that?
We make everything from scratch. Yeah, we could sell our mojo sauce maybe somewhere. We could do that. But right now we don't have the employees of the facility. So we can sell some of the sauces that we use, like the mojo sauce. People love that. That you can use to marinate. That could be something that we can make. But the problem is the bakery business is so involved, and so people say, why don't you make this? Why don't you make that? Every time you come up with a new product, you have to roll it out.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do.
Yeah.
And you got to keep the quality. Why didn't you make this? How do you make the quality of 200 something items the same day, making it the same way to taste the same?
Right.
That's very hard. But no collaborations as far as those. We do collaborations more like with nonprofits to help other people. So we collaborated with the museum of in West Covina, Hammer. We had a collaboration where they were showing painters. They were showing photographs from Cuba, from all kinds of different areas, from showing girls prostituting themselves to showing farmers, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they built like a small little bodeguita.
Mm-hmm.
And for, I think 6 months, we were supplying them. And people would line up there at the museum and we would get little texts. Why don't you bring more products? They're running out by this time. I said, that's because they're not the bakery. We're supplying them. They're buying what they think. and they had to up their sales because they were getting lines of people. Why don't you bring more items? They only had the guava that they didn't get what it was. They didn't get it was a pop-up. So
Yeah.
we done pop-ups in the future, but then everybody's like, why did you have this? Why don't you have that? What did you have? So, and then we done things with wineries, pairing for nonprofits, pairing wines with our products.
Mhm.
But then we donate the pastries for that. You know, they charge you to go in, and then they have like wineries, and we do with Ultimate, we do Istelemis Napa.
Mm.
We do that every year where, you know, I take like 3,000 to 4,000 pastries. It's all for
With
free.
the De La Rocha family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also heard that you guys donate your.
Yeah, we do. What I told you, the cancer awareness. So anybody can go to a clinic and get free screening for cancer. And we were doing somebody else before, but they were big, and we thought, let's do somebody. They have clinics in all the stores, all the bakeries that we have. There's clinics from Altamed. So it's a good thing. It's a good partnership. We're helping our own customers, our people that are going to be now can go to one of those clinics. So you have to really be smart about who you're helping, because so many people want help. But, you know, let's help the people that really need it. And they're not these big organizations like they have billions of dollars that they don't need it, you know?
Right.
But
And then the food that's left over, you guys also donate, right?
every day when we close the stores, we feel we have to have so many cases of boxes of pastries left, because when you come in at 8 or at 7:30, we want the shelves to be stocked. So everything is full. So there was a lot of waste because we're stocking till you come in until 8:30. We're baking. We bake 24 hours a day, by the way, nonstop. And so we established a relationship. The first one was the Union Mission, the Rescue Union Mission. Incredible what they do. And we work with them for 10 years now. So what we decided to do, because a lot of people don't want to donate because they're afraid that they're going to sue you. So they said, we'll cover you for $2 million. You start this. Never had an issue in 10 years. And we feed 400 people on a daily basis.
Wow.
Not once a year. A lot of people come and ask for food during Thanksgiving and Christmas. I tell them, you know, I'm already doing it, but we do it every day. And so every baker is tied to a shelter. The Buena Park is the one is tied to an organization that's called Children's Hope, Giving Children Hope.
Yep.
And so every day they pick up, and so their bags are filled with food that they collect for different vendors, and they include our breads and stuff like that. So that's it. Those are things that make you feel good, and they make your employees feel good about the place that they're working for.
For sure.
Because you're helping. They come themselves and ask for help.
Yeah.
And I say, I'm only going to do it because you work here, because I've done so many of those already that there's no budget left, but you work here, we'll do it. So they love the fact that we give to the homeless. They love the fact that we work with Children's Hospital. Right now it's called March Matter this time of year, and they're competing. One bakery is competing with the other. So all 6 bakeries are competing. And within the bakeries, all the salespeople are competing with each other. Because, you know, we get the one that wins. We have one that wins every year. And she gets the T-shirt and all the kudos. And everybody's trying to beat her up. So it's a fun way to sell something that's going to go for a great cause. Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
And but you make it fun. So they're competing, and children comes and talks about the competition and all that stuff. So it was great. It's a great thing too. Makes you feel good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's so hard to throw things away, and we throw a lot of stuff away. When you come in, and it breaks my heart, when you come in and they made a mistake and the sauce was not put on the side, that thing goes to the trash immediately.
Yeah.
Because they have to teach them that. But it breaks my heart. Or the smoothies, people say, I didn't want it blended, I want it hot. And then that's when I put my foot down and I said, okay, why don't we give it to the employees? So I make them collect all the mistakes, and I'm giving them to the employees because, you know, why throw it away? But when it comes to food, once they put it on the table, they can't take it back.
Yeah.
Even if they know they didn't touch it,
Yeah.
they have to throw it in the trash.
For
There's
sure.
a lot of that can't be helped. It is sad.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart
Yeah.
to see all that stuff. But everything else, all the breads and all the stuff that you see in the showcases is going to a great cause. So we feel good about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Betty, I have a newfound respect
Oh,
for what you and your family are doing, and on top of all the tasty food,
Yeah.
there's so much
True.
history behind it, and
Right.
then there's so much good that you guys are doing for
Right.
the community. So
and
Thank
so
you.
much
Thank you for
love
that.
that we have. And I always tell people, anybody can do it, guys. It's an immigrant story like every other, right? How many immigrants do we have coming in today that are going to be billionaires in 20 years? That's the reality. Nobody works harder than an immigrant does. And we're proof, right? That can happen. Well, thank you for having me here. I've enjoyed myself.
100%.
Had a
Thank
great
you so
time.
much, Betty. I thank you so much. And before I let you go, we're gonna do rapid fire with Betty Porto.
Oh,
Are you
that's
ready?
another little section?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever comes to mind.
Whatever comes to
Oh, my
mind.
gosh.
Okay.
Oh,
Very easy.
yes.
First thing that comes to mind on the menu that you love.
Anything my mother made for me when I was a child. What
One.
would that be? Like a potato ball.
Potato ball?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite. Do we have some potato balls here?
Yes, we do.
Ooh. All right, that's the end of our interview.
Thank you, guys.
I'm
No,
kidding.
you gotta go back.
Favorite Spanish word?
Coño.
Coño.
'Cause I'm Cuban, so.
Favorite song to dance to?
Any salsa?
I love it. Who's your favorite salsa artist?
Oh, no, I can't. There's so many. I love Willie Chirino because he's, Willie Chirino. I love him. He sings a lot from the heart and a lot about the Guajiro, the campesinos. So I love his music.
I love that. Favorite Latino food dish that isn't Cuban?
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's hard. I love nachos.
Nachos.
Good ones.
Yeah. With
the-
like
With
carne
the meat
asada
and the carne
or-
asada.
Yeah.
I love nachos.
I love
I
that.
think that's like a meal in a very cool and not fancy way to present it.
Yeah.
But it has everything that I love, which is la crema, the guacamole, the cheese, the chips, and the carne asada. It's just, I love it.
Do you remember what I had for my birthday this year, Tati? It was nachos.
Nachos.
And that's the first thing I shared with them. I was like,
Good nachos, not the cheap cheese
Yeah,
one that
no,
you
it
get
was-
at the,
it was
at the
homemade.
stadiums.
so it was the first thing I shared with my team here. My brother loves to cook, and he said, "Hey, what do you want me to make you?"
Nachos.
And I said, "Nachos." And we ate nachos at the house.
They could be steroids if you make them right. They could be incredible. So-
Last question is a nickname of yours that no one really knows about.
Oh my God. And my nickname?
Yes.
You know, a lot of people call me, I have a girlfriend, it's one of my best girlfriends, and she calls me B.
B.
Because I didn't know, when you come from Cuba, if your name is Beatrice, your nickname is Betty. I didn't know in the United States, Elizabeth is our Betty, and Beatrice are B. So I was shocked in junior high school when somebody said, they started calling me, and I go, who's B? What does that mean? So I found out about it, and she's the only one that calls me that. Nobody else calls me B. And my daughters call me BP.
BP.
Beatriz Porto. And they say that I don't listen. They go, Mom. And I'm blocking them out. When they go, BPs, I react. And so that's my nickname at home, BP.
I love
Even
that.
their boyfriends and their husbands call me BP.
BP.
Yeah.
Well, BP,
Yes.
thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming here
Thank you.
today. We all love you. And
Thank you.
again, we love what you and your family
Yeah.
are doing and continue to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Betty Porto. Give it up for Betty, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Give it up for you guys. For doing an amazing job
you.
and showcasing, a business that's a Latino business. It's not, nothing else than that. So it's great to be
Of course.
able to be showcased once again.
And this is your home
Thank you.
anytime, Betty. Thank
Especially
you.
if I bring the food, right?
Oh, yeah, no. This is your home every week.
Really
Thank
good.
you
Thank
so
you.
much, Betty. And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for watching
Thank
and
you.
listening to Mando and Friends presented by Verizon.